Shalom, family. How's everyone doing? All right, good. All praises. I'm Brother Yatab with Sound Faith Ministries, and we're going to go ahead and get into today's lesson is I don't need a teacher, okay? Why? Because so many people in this day and age can feel as if in various aspects of life they don't need a teacher, especially when it comes down to their spiritual side. Some people feel that way, okay? And they have that notion and they may push that, on others that you don't need a teacher or a leader or guidance, okay? When that's not the case. And we're going to get that according to scriptures. Let's go ahead and get the book of Acts, chapter 8, and we're going to read verse 30 through 31, okay? Book of Acts, chapter 8 and verse 30. That you do, in fact, you need a teacher, you need guidance, similar to if you watched last night's lessons, I prefaced, some of those things. And I'll be prefacing some of those things in tonight's lesson as well. But we'll also be, this evening's lesson, we'll also be going into a lot of other things that I did not go into last night. Okay, so let's get the book of Acts. Let's get the book of Acts, chapter 8. And we are going to read verse 30 through 31. Book of Acts, chapter 8, and verse 30. And it reads, "And Philip ran thither to him, and heard him read the prophet Isaiah." So, it's Philip, one of the disciples, as, we read about, and he overheard, and it was also something he got guidance in the spirit that, hey, go join yourself unto that brother over there, or, hey, teach that brother there. So it was one of those things he got guidance in the spirit. And it says, and reading on, and heard him read the prophet Isaiah, which is Isaiah, okay? And said, "Understandest thou what thou readest?" So he asked him, do you understand? Are you comprehending what you're reading? Because many of us, you can read, anyone can pick up a Bible and start reading the scriptures or the verses contained within. But that doesn't mean you understand it. And even if you believe you understand it, how well do you understand when now put in a place where you're tested according to that knowledge and information, or questioned according to that knowledge and information? Not all necessarily like tested like formally, but even in terms of where someone questions your beliefs. It could be friend, family, or foe, someone who's adverse. So, even your children could have questions for you. At the end of the day, can you provide a sound answer according to scriptures? And a big part of you understanding something is how well can you teach it? The better you're able to teach it, the better your understanding across that spectrum of information or knowledge. So it says, "Understandest thou what thou readest?" 31. And he said, "How can I?" He said, "How can I? But except what?" Read. "Except some man." So it's except some man. Okay? Somebody got to teach you. Because at the end of the day, you got to learn from somebody. So, but at the end of the day, it says, "Except some man should guide me." And some people have a problem with that. I don't want, you don't need man telling you what to do. You don't need someone trying to tell you how to live your life. And this book is full of men, and in some cases even sisters, showing you, guiding you on things to do or not to do according to the word of the Most High. So you need guidance. So now it said, "Except some man should guide me." And he desired Philip. He had a desire. You got to have a desire. Not everyone has that desire. And you can't necessarily just make someone have that desire. So you can try to influence them, live in the golden age of influencers. But at the end of the day, it's really going to be up to them. So because you can't continue to be someone's motivation to or not to do something. It doesn't necessarily work that way. So because that motivation will soon die out. They, within themselves, have to have a motive of their own. So that's the root of motivation. You got to have a motive. What's your purpose? What's your passion? What's pushing you? What's driving you? So, and he desired Philip that he would come up and sit with him. So he desired that. And because through that desire, that his spirit was already searching, the Most High found that time to align him. Because if you're searching, the Most High is going to help you out. You know, if you're sincerely searching, he'll guide someone to you. He'll guide that help to you if you're sincere. And then you'll have that help to be able to get what it is you need to be able to further develop your growth in your studies. So he had that. So now from there, let's go ahead and get 1 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 2. Let's get the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 8, and we are going to read verse 2. Book of 1 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 2, and it reads, "And if any man think that he knoweth anything, he knoweth nothing yet as he ought to know." See, many times we believe, I know this. I think I got a good grasp on this. But many times you're in a place where you don't know it as well as you ought to know. And that's for one of two reasons. Either one, you're not as thoroughly as studied on it as what it is you could be when looking at it on a whole. Kind of like one of those things like the grade I give myself versus the grade the Most High probably give me. And I might want to bolster myself or give myself an A plus, where the Most High may feel like you got a C minus or a C plus at best. You know, if I'm really trying to judge and grade, some people can bolster themselves or give themselves a higher grade than what it is they deserve. So, and it's the same with sometimes information. You may think you know it or have a better understanding of what you may really have. And so now it's a situation where you only realize that when now you're in a place where I have to recall that information or be tested on that information. Because the other side of it is sometimes you did know it, but you didn't forgot. Certain things, if you aren't consistently in a place of practicing or rehearsing, you can be in a place to where you begin to forget. As the scriptures say, we're a forgetful people. So now you're in a place to where, I need refreshers on these things. I need to revisit these things. So that way I can resharpen my sword. So, because my sword is dull. It ain't cutting the way it used to, the way it need to. So you have that as well. So either way it goes, I need, that guide. I need that help. So now from here, let's go ahead and let's get Proverbs 18 and 2. So let's get the book of Proverbs chapter 18, and we're going to read verse 2. So, book of Proverbs chapter 18, and read verse 1 and 2. Book of Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 1, it says, through desire, there's that word again, desire, that attraction, that lust in a good way towards a good thing, because lust is part of that desire, something I'm looking towards, something I want. So I'm having that desire. It says through desire, a man having separated himself, because oftentimes that's what you have to do. You got to separate yourself. And it's less of the physical. It can be physical at times. Like in military, you go off to, boot camp, you're separated. You're able to physically disconnect. So you're separated. But the main separation is one that is of the mental, and what we should be doing if we're coming into this wall from the world, spiritual. We're separating. So through desire, man having separated himself, seeketh. So you got to be looking. Seeking is looking. I'm looking for this. I'm trying to find this. It says, seeketh and intermeddleth with all wisdom. In places of wisdom, that's where you're trying to be. You're trying to search out that information. You're trying to get, hey, man, I need to learn this. And wisdom is more than just having the knowledge, which we'll deal with, but it's a process. You need the understanding. You need these other things to go ahead with it, so you can apply it and know what to do with it. But it says, verse 2, it says, a fool, one who lacks wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. So a fool hath no delight in understanding, but that his heart may discover itself. So only a foolish person is going to be like, I just figure it out, you know. I get it together eventually. Someone who's speaking in that way, whether they realize it at the time or not, they're speaking foolishly. Because why would you forego someone showing you how to do it in a more simplistic way or a more efficient way to continue to either bump your head or draw out the process for days, months, or years, depending on the situation? Whereas if you just would have gotten that knowledge and understanding or allowed them to teach you, you could have very well have, expedited the process and got over the situation or through the process significantly faster. And depending on the information, it can take you much longer going and just trying to figure it out because you're choosing to take the hard road when you could have taken the easier route. And you definitely want to be in a place with some information you can cut the process down by years. And things that, yes, there are people who have to pave a way that, yes, I had to learn this the hard way because I did not have that guidance. So it took me 6, 7, 10, 15 years to get here. But if I can be in a space to where I can get that sooner, or man, why wouldn't I? So unless, again, I was just being foolish or prideful. And then it can cost you bought sense. Now you have to pay for it. Pay for the mistake. When you could have been taught around. You could have learned sense. Someone taught you. Versus bought sense. I had to pay for it. Let's get Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 17. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and read verse 17. Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 17. And it reads, and I gave my heart to know wisdom. My heart, meaning my mind. I gave my mind to know wisdom. Not just be associated, but to know. I have a close relationship. I need to be there. And to know madness and folly. Now, what would it say to know madness and folly? Why would it separate them in that particular way? Because you have to understand, wisdom, okay, is wise. I'm doing what is best on a case-by-case basis. Because wisdom is not cookie cutter. What's wise in one situation may not be wise in another. That's part of how judgment works. But what maybe the judgment in this case may not be the case in this situation. It's a little different. So when you break down the situations. So the same thing, and same with madness. Madness, you think madness, someone generally crazy. Things that sound crazy, things that sound off the wall, off the chain, you have to understand those things. And understand, like, dang, someone would do that? Man, that sounds crazy. Man, that's wild. But what would drive one to do that? You have to spend time to dissect those situations, to meditate on those things so you can get an understanding. Need it be to empathize with someone that, okay, I can understand why one would do this in this type of situation. Or to be in a place to where, okay, I need to understand how does one get from here to here, what type of things can cause that in someone's life. Understanding part of human psychology. What will cause one to do that? What circumstance, what life events can cause that? So then I can better deal with that person. So now, and the same with folly. Folly is like foolishness. It be just things that are silly or things that are dumb. You understand some of those things. What will cause someone to do some of those silly things, some of those dumb things? So that way you can better understand. You develop wisdom is full circuit. So it's full circuit. So you have to learn all those steps and all those processes become wise. Like he's saying in verse 17, I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceived that this also is vexation of spirit. Because even as much as you learn, there's still going to be things that it can still be difficult to wrap your head around. And still be something that's stressful as well to have to spend time meditating on these things. Because you're seriously trying to figure it out. So you can better guide people within that situation or keep them from that situation. Hey, I know you're going through this. It can lead to this if you don't get this together. This is something that it could be subject to. So now from here, let's get Romans 10, 14 through 15. Let's get the book of Romans. Get the book of Romans, chapter 10. We're going to read verse 14 through 15. Book of Romans, chapter 10 and verse 14. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And watch this process, watch how this flows. And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? So it's a process. They got to believe and they got to hear in order to believe. But then it says, and how shall they hear without a preacher? Need a preacher. You see the process there? I need to believe, but shoot, I got to hear it. Or hear it, shoot, I need a preacher. Which in short is also what? A teacher. I need someone to preach or teach the word. So then that way I get it, so I'm able to hear it. I'm able to believe that according to what it is I need to believe. Thus saith the Lord. So it's a process that has to be followed. And it starts with someone being in place. Someone they have to choose. Let's get Ecclesiastes let's go back. Let's get Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 9. Let's go back to Ecclesiastes. We'll give Ecclesiastes, we're going to get chapter 12 and verse 9. Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 9. And it reads, and moreover, because the preacher was wise, it was because he had wisdom, he was able to give it to others. Because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge. You can't give people what you don't have. If you don't have wisdom, you're not going to be able to teach others because you don't have it to give. Like if I ain't got no water in this glass, I can't pour anything into anyone else's cup. But if I got one and we dying of thirst, you need something to drink, I'll pour half of this in there. I got something to give. And the bigger the vessel, the more I have that I'm able to share. The smaller the vessel, the less I have that I'm able to pass along and share. So, and it's similar in terms of wisdom. The more wisdom I have, the more I'm able to share with others and across a wider spectrum of information. So to be able to help others. But the more that I lack, then the less I'm able to be of use in various situations because I don't know. I'm unlearned in this. So, and even with wisdom, when you learn enough of it, a lot of things become more multifaceted. You may not know specifically things on this exact topic, but because of other realms you've dealt with, all right, I have an inclination to be able, I'm inclined to help you to a degree in this area, but I know the statute limitations of which I know my limitation. I know this is as much as I can tell you on this, and from there, I have to direct you to this brother or sister. So, even too, on the other side of it, just knowing that, hey, this realm is beyond me. I don't know, but I know someone who may be able to help you. Now, that's the case too. You may not be able to help in as many realms as what you would like to. So, now, let's go ahead and from there, let's continue here. And more because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge. Yea, he gave good heed. Now, I said again, you don't want to be a hypocrite. What you're teaching, you want to also practice. You want to make sure you're applying the same things in your life. So it said he gave good heed and sought out. You got to be searching. You got to be seeking these things out. And set in order many proverbs. You got to order it. You can't just go out there willy-nilly. So you have to have a process, an order, structure, to what it is you're dealing with, talking about, teaching. And he said in many wise sayings, many wise principles, that, okay, this is applicable in this case. It's not applicable in this case. So all right, now's my time. I should speak on this. Other time, you know what? I should refrain from speaking. So You have to understand that. Let's get Nehemiah. Go back to Nehemiah chapter 8 and verse 8. You can also read verse 7, but verse 8 says, "So they read in the book in the law of God distinctly and gave the sense and caused them to understand the reading." You want to help people understand what it is that they're reading. A good teacher and a good leader is going to do that, going to make sure that you understand what it is you're dealing with. So now on the flip side, let's take a practical approach, okay? What we learn in life, even life itself teaches you, you need a teacher. When you're in grade school, you need a teacher. In college, you need a teacher. So even if he or she is called a professor, we're born into this world. You naturally come into this world, you should, with two teachers, a mother and father. You're supposed to, the way it's set up. But you have a teacher, someone to guide you. So need a teacher. Okay, on a flip side, physically, playing sports, need a teacher who they call a coach. Same with even professional athletes. They still need a coach. Even though they're professionals, still need a coach. So with all that being said, why would you not think that for your spiritual guidance, you don't need a teacher? You don't need someone there. So I got the Most High. Of course you do. Our people had the Most High, but yet and still, we went to war. We still brought weapons, shields, swords. It didn't just, I just got the Most High. Yeah, you're going to help us win the battle, now pick up the sword, pick up the shield. Otherwise, we're going to get killed. So, of course. But yet and still, you need someone there, okay? So, you want to make sure you have someone there to guide and help you. So now, next segment, why wouldn't one want, a teacher? Well, for one, is bad leadership. So some people have experience with bad leadership, and because of bad leadership, they've become discouraged from having a teacher. They get a bad taste in their mouths. Nah, I don't do that, Captain. Nah, I don't do it because you had a bad experience. That's one of the reasons. Let's get the book of Isaiah chapter 9, verse 16. So these are things that happen that cause people to shy away from certain things that within themselves are good, but it was abused. So Isaiah chapter 9, and let's read verse 16. The book of Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 16. And it reads, "For the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed." And that's what you're seeing even to this very day. The leaders of our people, need they be proclaimed to be in the world or in the truth or in the faith, you have many that are not moving according to sound doctrine. And they're causing people to become spiritually destroyed, and even mentally destroyed. And some even down to physically destroyed, economically, socially, you name it, because of some of the things that they teach. And when some people realize that, they start to put themselves at a disadvantage. It's one of those things because I was hoodwinked, bamboozled, seduced, done wrong in this situation or by this person, and it gives a lot of people ultimatums. I don't deal with none of them, because I don't want to ever be done wrong again. I don't want nothing, nothing, no problem, nothing bad. It's when the reality is that's not the appropriate way to deal with it, in which I'll show you the appropriate way to deal with those situations. The scriptures actually teach us, So, but, it's It's the problem. There's a difference. The problem is not leadership within itself. The problem is bad leaders. No different than with anything else, you know. So problem isn't, like people think, oh, some people, marriage is just horrible, wrong, and change you up, can't do nothing, and this and that, and it's just bad. And it's not that marriage is bad. Marrying the wrong people is bad. Marriage is good. Most High said it's good. So, but again, you got to choose correct, the right person. You have to make sure you're going into the situation with the right mindset. Are you going in with the mindset of a wife, with the mindset of a husband? Or are you going in still thinking single? So, are you going in thinking teamwork or making me work? It's just trying to do you or trying to build collectively. The mindset is a big part of it. Let's get Proverbs 18 and 19. Because it's the other side of it. Let's get the book of Proverbs, chapter 18, and let's read verse 19. The book of Proverbs, chapter 18 and verse 19. And it reads, "A brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city." That's what it said, man. And that's a big part of it. People get offended, and then it becomes so difficult to try to move and make things happen because they be so offended. It lets you know that a brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city. That's a heck of a statement. Because you think a city to conquer a city, or go conquer the city nearest you. You would think that would be challenging to do, right? They said, man, you have better success doing that than trying to win some of these battles with brothers or sisters that have been offended. Because once that happens, a lot of them is just, nope, ain't doing it. Nope, ain't having it. It don't matter what the topic is. They get done wrong or see a bad situation, they are done. Whatever it is. Some of it's camp, some of it is marriage. The topic can go on. Some of it is kid, whatever it is. Nope, I ain't having no more kids. Nope, nope, I ain't getting married again. Nope, nope, I ain't no leaders. Nope, you ain't going ABC camp meet 1, 2, 3. Nope. A lot of times because of offenses. So that have caused these problems. Because otherwise, if everything usually was good, you wouldn't have a problem with it. Or you hear other testimonies. You hear other people's bad experience and say, nope, they're not going to get me like that. I'm thinking ahead of them. So people shut themselves off, cut themselves off. So now, next one, let's get 1 Thessalonians 5, 21 through 22. So let's get 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 21 through 22. The book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 21. It says, "Prove all things. Hold fast that which is good." There's two parts to that. First is prove the situation. A lot of times we fall into bad places because we didn't properly prove it. Shame on us. We didn't take the proper time to go through a process to even understand what process to go through per the situation. Let me test it. Let me see. Let me prove this. Let me understand, is this good or is this bad? Is this person moving right? How do you know? So let me prove. And you see, all right, let me see how they do with this situation. Let me watch them for a time. Some days, some weeks, some months, maybe in a year or two. And let me see what the situation is. So now it's a situation where if I don't do that, and a lot of times people don't, the next part they don't do as well. Hold fast that which is good. You let it all go. You the ultimatum. It says hold fast that which is good. Find the good, the thing that you do know, okay, this was good, this was good, this was good. All right, in that, hold on to. the rest of it you got to let go, then okay, let go. You got people who, no, I had to let the whole thing go. All this, all that. You proved all of this to be bad. Oh, I just didn't want to be confused. I didn't want to take the risk. Well, okay, you got to go through the process to test each one of these and see. So, lest you be letting a lot of the good stuff go along with the bad. You gotta keep the good. So now, verse 22 says, abstain from all appearance of evil. Now, if anything seems evil, then okay, that I abstain from. Even if it's certain doctrines you hear, certain doctrines, if I improve these, then all right, I don't necessarily mess with those, but I know these are good. I prove those. But I haven't worked my way over to these yet, but I'm working on it. But I know these are good. I've proven these. So you can have that. You can go through that process. So you have that. So now the next thing, and of course, you also have people, they don't want, another person, telling me what to do or things of that nature. But you go through life in so many places, someone telling you what to do. So on your job, you got a boss telling you what to do. Most of us work for a job, and then even if you work for yourself, you still got the government telling you what to do. State, local taxes, and federal taxes. So telling you what to do, still got to remain in compliance. So you're still going to have someone that's going to tell you what to do. And then if you're trying to be a leader and a good one, you're going to listen to those in which you oversee, those in which you guide or you lead. So to see, hey, you need times of diplomacy, time to see, hey, should we do this or that? Should we move in this way or should we not move in this way? Or how do you believe we should move according to this? And listening to, some of the statements that say, oh, that's wise. Okay, yeah, I'll consider that. Oh, yeah, I intended on doing that. So you need times of that too. Let's get, that was part of the second thing. Let's get the third, accountability, the main third. So bad leadership, you also have not wanting to be instructed or told what to do, or no man telling me, God tell me, and then you have accountability. Let's get Isaiah 39 through 10. So accountability is something that is major. Isaiah chapter 30, verse 9. Let's deal with this. We can read 9 through 11. Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 9. And it reads, it says that this is a rebellious people, lying children that will not hear the law of the Lord. And so a lot of time that spirit is still on our people today, even as they start to come into the faith or proclaim to have been in the faith, been in the truth. A lot of time they don't want to hear things that are thus saith the Lord. They don't want to hear it. They want to overlook it. They treat it like a bag of trail mix. Yeah, I do this. I might change my name and I might start keeping a couple things that fit. I do a few that works, but there's a lot of other things that I choose not to do because I don't believe that ain't what I read, or simply I don't put myself in a place or take the time to study and see what else I'm supposed to do. I like some of the good things, but then some of those bitter things I don't want to deal with. So that's not the way how you're supposed to, deal with it. You got to take the volume of the book, cover to cover. So now verse 10, and it says, which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceits. That's another problem. People look for teachers, like the scripture say, with itching ears, that ones that will teach things according to what it is that you believe. And instead of seeing what the sincerity of the word says concerning it, you're trying to find a teacher that will co-sign whatever your belief or doctrine is. Oh, y'all teach this? All right, cool, I'll rock with that. Y'all, yeah, I don't teach this though, right? So, without first seeing that, look, we all teach this, y'all don't teach this. Let me study to see why do y'all teach this and why don't y'all teach this? So I can really study and see, like, according to the scriptures, man, it's really line up, you know, from what I see according to my own studies, and then I compare what these two belief systems I really see. That's the way you want to go about it. Because the reality is, there's going to be things that you walk that are uncomfortable, things that you might not agree with, you might not like. But guess what? It's not your word. It's the Most High's word. And you're working in a way to do things that are pleasing unto Him. Not trying to find a way to treat the Bible like a bag of trail mix and pick out the parts you really like, and then everything else you can keep that. Nah, I got to make sure I'm sincere because I'm held accountable for it either way. And if something that's going to determine whether or not I'm worthy to be in a space of everlasting life, or I'm seen as just in a place of everlasting death, I want to make sure I'm as thorough as possible in saying what does the rule book say I need to do to make it. What are the requirements? And making sure I'm checking everything off that list and I'm moving according to everything that I'm supposed to move according to. That's how you should be moving. And you should want the accountability of someone that can help me in terms of determining making sure I'm moving right. Because if I'm not, I'd rather have that corrected sooner rather than later. Because later may be too late. As I say, woulda, coulda, shoulda, always too late. And you go past the point of no return. So too far gone. You don't want that. So in the moment how you feel you might, but you don't really want that at the end of the day. It's verse 11. And it said, I'm going to read 10 again. Which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceits. And again, this isn't something in which people are literally saying, but the sentiment in which they're expressing is of that magnitude. Nah, we good with you with what it is you on. I like the way this brother speak. That brother know how to talk to people. I like the way this sister, she know how to talk to people. And a lot of those things is be Weaslers for they give me what I like to hear. They know how to, woo me in the way I need to be wooed, make me feel good, and I feel better about anything it is that I'm doing or entertaining, or they just entertain some of my folly. So and it make me feel good. And you don't need someone that's going to sit there and validate the thing that you're doing that isn't according to the word. And that's what makes it hard for people to repent. Because where someone's saying, hey, this is wrong, someone else is saying, nah, you good, that's right. Nah, keep moving with that. Don't let anybody tell you different. Yeah, you right, brother. Yeah, you right, sister. All right. Get caught up. Verse 11. Get you out of the way. Turn aside out of the path. Call the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us. A lot of times, like, all right, I'm good on that. Some people, I'm good on that truth thing, good on that spiritual thing, good on that Israelite, that Hebrew thing, whatso have you. So, all right. Now, let's get the next segment. Choosing a teacher. Okay, this is one of the most important parts. Choosing a teacher. Let's get Proverbs 24 and 6. Let's get the book of Proverbs, chapter 24 and verse 6. The book of Proverbs, chapter 24 and verse 6, and it reads, For by wise counsel thou shalt make thy war, and in multitude of counselors there is safety. So now, first thing lets us know, you not only need counsel, you need wise counsel before you go to war. And like with other things in life, you don't just need anybody giving you counsel. Anybody can give you counsel, but it doesn't mean they should. Now it lets you know that in the multitude, of counselors their safety. Why? Because if I have a good number of people to talk to, then it's like, shoot, I got people I can go to. Versus if I don't have people to go to, it's like, man, there's no one I can really go to ask for advice, concerning these things. And that can get you caught up because I don't have someone to go to. So it's letting you know that there's safety in a multitude because there's people you can go to. Even if someone's not available, there's someone else I can get access to. So that's a beautiful thing. However, there's another side in that. Let's get Sirach 6:6. The book of Ecclesiasticus, also known as the book of Sirach, chapter 6, and let's read verse 6. Book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 6, and verse 6. And it reads, "Be in peace with many, nevertheless, have but one counselor of 1,000." So when you're dealing with a situation, even amongst, you have a multitude, but it doesn't mean go to the multitude. All right, this is who I go to. This is the number one person who I usually go to for counsel. I've proven them, and I've seen how they move. I've seen how they move and with their families and their relationships, and I've seen how they deal with matters that, okay, this person I can go to for these situations. They can guide me accordingly. Fair enough, if you've gone through that process. So, like I said, it's have but one counselor of 1,000. Even though it's a multitude, even you got 1,000 people you can talk to. We all know. Oh yeah, I know Shalonda, and I know P. Ray, and I know whoever else it is. I can talk to. But let me make sure out of all these people, you know what? Always know I can deal, and I can go to Sister Lisa. Lisa, she gonna make sure she tries to understand the situation. She'll empathize with me when she can, and she'll let me know if I'm wrong. Okay, I'll go to her, and then if she not available, I know, okay, Brother David I can go to too. Brother David, he gonna let me know too. He gonna let me know if I was wrong and what I did wrong and what I need to do better. Okay, that's what I understand that. Now if I have to, man, I'll go to Brother Tony, but I know it's one of those. He'll tell you, but man, he upbraid a lot. He just drags stuff on a lot, but he's like third string, and But either way it goes, you got people you understand why each one you go to, and for what you go to them for. It's a process. So, like I said, and even like we read before, probably you don't just go to war willy-nilly without counsel. You got to get some instruction first. You got to get some help, and see someone to help you think about this process and think aloud. Sometimes things can sound good. We think to ourselves, but then when we start expressing it, it don't sound as wise anymore. So sometimes you got to go back to the drawing board. Now, from here, let's get Sirach chapter. We can stay in the same chapter, and let's get verse 7. Sirach chapter 6 and verse 7. Book of Sirach chapter 6 and verse 7. And it reads, "If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him." So, again, even though this can be vague or ambiguous, it's one of those things that if you were to get a friend, and many times, many relationships, the core of it is a level of friendship. There's a certain level of closeness that you have, a certain level of awareness of one another, knowledge of one another, that this person is then deemed a friend or friendly, in terms of how they act or behave or how they deal with things, right? So now you're in a situation in place to where, hey, look, at the end of the day, did you go through a process of validating this person to really hold up and really be in terms of this nature? So, and for that, you may have to go through things. You may have to, communicate different things at different times and see that, okay, I'm seeing a pattern, and this pattern that I'm seeing is lining up to where this is sound, this is legitimate, or you can see that pattern that it's shaky, it's like one out of every four, and it's like Now let me keep searching. But this person, all right, I see, all right, they 2 out of 3. Okay. This person here, it's like, man, I proved them. I spent more time. They're like 4 out of 5. And just which odds you gonna take? Ooh, it's between this one and this one. And all right, go through your process. So, but nevertheless, you're proven. And a leader, a teacher is someone that should be accounted amongst a friend, someone that you can have a good level of trust with, a good level of faith in. So you want to be able to have that in a teacher. You want to be able to have that in a leader. So now, and it also says, be not hasty to credit, because that's how a lot of our people fall into problems. You didn't take that time to get to know that person in the way that you should have, and things went wrong because of that. So, and it's, well, how long should I take to prove someone? Depends on the situation. So it's not cookie cutter. And it also depends on even if you're in person versus online, and then how much trust and faith you have to, give over to them, how much power are you giving over to them. The other thing could be slowly but surely. You might have someone, all right, I watched them for 3 months online before I chose to, entrust them with my learning. That's fine. Someone else may say, man, I watched this camp for 6 months before I decided. Someone else said, you know what, after a month I prayed on it, man, and they seemed pretty solid, and I dealt. It's case by case. So, just as long as you have a process and you're seeing. Someone else may say, man, I watched for a year, before I made that move. And some people might have different faith. Some people, because I made the move, I was thinking about moving to another state. And it's because I knew they were in this location that, man, I made sure, man, I watched for a year before, all right, now I'm going to make that move, because it's worth my salvation. That's why I waited 6 months or things. So, that's the case, but it's wise. It's wise. Now, from here, let's go ahead and let's get 2 Corinthians 8:22. Let's get 2 Corinthians chapter 8. Let's read verse 22. 2 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 22. And it reads, and we have sent with them our brother. So notice they call him brother, because they can say that. That's the closeness in the bond. Of course, yeah, we brothers and sisters because we descend from the same forefathers and foremothers, but it's also brother in terms of how we deal with one another. Is it brotherly? Is it sisterly? It should be a level of love there, care there, concern. So that's what, can you say that this person, this is really my brother? So our brother, whom we have oftentimes, not just once, but it's been a few situations that we proved diligent in many things, not just a couple. Many things. We see how they moved in this and in that. And you know what? From what we've seen, this is a straight leader. This is a good leader. But now much more diligent upon the great confidence which I have in you. So, and that's it. Even when dealing with setting up, leaders, even sub-leaders, even setting up sub-leaders over places or over churches. It's not just, all right, I just been in truth 5 years. All right, yeah, go lead this church over here. We got to make sure we prove and, what doctrines you understand, how well is your understanding. Because just because you've been in for some years, that doesn't mean how thorough you studied, how well versed you are. It's just how long you just been aware of certain knowledge. And it just, the other knowledge you still may not be aware of. So, because it doesn't give account for what you've done over the course of that time. So, exactly. So now, it's one of those things to where we got to make sure, hey, you're going to deal right. You understand, you understand, you're able to perform, and you're able to maintain that in a way that's both sound, diligent, and righteous. So, those things have to be proven, So, it's a full round proving process on all regards. So as a disciple or a carrier, they have to prove that leader or teacher, and that teacher leader has to prove that congregate disciple, then any sub leader has to prove them. They have to prove it. It's a whole process of proving. So that everyone is sound and firm and all right, nah, this is I can make a sound decision concerning this. Let's get 1 John chapter 4 and verse 1. Let's get the book of 1 John chapter 4. And let's read verse 1. And I'll make sure I leave you with this scripture. 1 John chapter 4 and verse 1. Beloved, believe not every spirit. Don't believe everybody. Lottie-dottie, everybody. So lottie-dottie, everybody ain't correct. So believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of God. You got to try them, both through this word from what you read and what lines up from what you see. And then also with just situation, just observing over time how they deal with things, how they reason, listening to them, and over time you'll start to see. So believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. So that's the thing. Many false prophets are gone out into the world. So you have to prove to know, is this person, are they true, or are they another false prophet? And how do you know? What's the grade scale? How do I know, to be able to identify them? I should get one more. Let's get Matthew 7:16 through 17. I'm actually with this one, Matthew 7:16 through 17. So, book of Matthew, chapter 7, and let's start verse 15. Verse 15 through 17. Matthew chapter 7 and verse 15, and it reads, beware of false prophets. So Christ had to let them know. He had to, of course, let his disciples know, man, beware of false prophets. They out there, man. You gonna get them. He had to let them know, because if it was something that was that obvious and easy to detect, there would be no need to say, because, oh yeah, you already know that. But it's said because it's not always going to be easy to detect. Because many people can have the form of godliness, the appearance of godliness, but deny the power thereof. And that's why it takes a process. It's like catching deceit. Deceit can take a long time to catch, because it's a little bit of truth sprinkled in there with a lot of lies. But it's some truth in there. But a lot of lies. That's how you get deceit. It's bigger than just being a liar. This is just false. Oh, I'm just telling falsehood. Deceit, I'm trying to make it seem as if this is this way, but it's not really this way, and I'm trying to finagle something. So I need some truth, and I need the lies in there and mix it together, so it's more believable. It's deceit. So now it says, beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing. Meaning what? They come to you seeming good, seeming innocent, seeming docile. You hear people's horror stories all the time. I just don't know how or why. It just seems so nice and so pleasant. And of course, the devil is a liar. He got to come seeming nice, gentle, sweet. So he or she coming seeming nice, gentle, sweet. So people we let into our lives all the time. Now from here, beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Inwardly, that truly within their mind and their spirit, how they really operate, they're a wolf. They're prowling, they're hunting. They have ill will. Their intentions are not good. But that may not be known, because as the scriptures say, some men's sins are known beforehand. Others, they follow after. Some people, you can get a gauge before something happens that, this person, they not dealing right. They're not going to dare. Let me move away from this person. Let me walk away. Let me not deal with this individual, in this way. Others, it unfolds over time, and it can take not only months, it can take years. The seed go on for some time. It can be a couple of years before you find out that, dang, this person is really a snake. This person is really a devil, or this person is really deceitful. I didn't notice it at first. It can take some time. It may not be something that's known as quick, because it may take for various scenarios to unfold. You may never get there in that first 3 months or 6 months, or in that time. It may take longer. So now, as it says, and reading on, verse 16, ye shall know them by their fruits. By their fruits, meaning what? Their works. Fruits is what you produce. A tree produces fruit. So a person has a tree, they're producing fruit. It's their works, their words, their actions. This is the fruit that's being produced. Over time, you're gonna see through their actions and through their words what kind of tree you're dealing with. And like, oh snap, I thought that was a blueberry tree. That's a thorn bush. That ain't nah, I can't mess with that. I thought them berries was edible. I thought it was cranberries. Them red berries tainted. And like with a tree, you need to give enough time for that fruit to develop. Sometimes we don't give enough time for that fruit to develop. We see a little bit of green coming in, and all right, yeah, let me just get it. I know that's gonna be good, and it'd be bitter as heck. I'm like, nope, that wasn't straight. So it, you shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? No, they do not. You see a thorn bush, you're not gonna get some grapes off of that. Even though it can wither and it got some vines, but it's gonna hurt you. It's gonna prick you. That ain't it. But now you gotta see. You gotta get a little closer to see. From further away, that picture ain't as clear. But the closer you get, same way, the more you get to know somebody, the more the truth starts to reveal itself. Somebody can only fake the funk for so long, but the more invested, the closer you get, the more you're gonna find out. And then see, I knew it. Or now I see. So now, verse 18, it says, a good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. So, and that's at the end of the day. So 19, every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire, that their end is going to be destruction. Verse 20, wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them. So that's how you're going to be able to find, that teacher. You need one. You need to begin sincerely looking for one. I don't have to be it. I may or may not be it, but you need somebody. So, Brother Yatab, with Sound Faith Ministries, a leader here, bishop here in the spirit, that, if you would have me to be that, all praise, and if not, it's still all praise the Most High, and I pray in good faith that you find that. Okay, and with that, I'll go ahead and I'll say shalom.